So first and foremost, welcome to my hometown. I'm a born and raised New Orleanian, so I'm around at lunch. If you have any questions about New Orleans, anything to do tonight, I'm happy to answer any questions, and of course, answer any questions about this as well. You just started the timer, there we go. And I guess I need to start to ask to speak right after the lawyer, because the whole room was filled this morning. And now it's not. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, people are still drinking their coffees, that's right. So I'm Katie Morro. I work at Amadeus Hospitality. I've been there about 15 years. I come from the travel click side, so I mostly speak about data, so you will hear about some data. I can't do a speech without it, but I'll kind of move into a little bit more of the distribution marketing side of things, which is not my comfort zone, but I think that what we're doing at Amadeus, actually we are innovating, and I think we're doing some good things that you will be very interested to learn about. So without further ado, let's get going. So key market trends, I'll do a channel deep dive using the Demand 360 data that we have, and I'll talk about that in just a second in case you're not familiar. We'll talk about personalization and really humanizing the travel experience. So let's start off with key market trends. So first, wanted to look at North America, so this includes United States and Canada. So this data, if you're not familiar, comes from our Demand 360 product. So we gather forward on the books data, no forecast, from about 45,000 hotels globally. We get that data updated every day. Hotels use it to compare themselves versus their competition and make revenue management decisions. And then we can roll that up to understand what is the status of the industry, what are we looking at as we look into the future. So what I wanted to do when I look at 2024, and nothing excites me more than not having 2019 on this slide, I have to tell you guys. So, looking at 2024 on the book, so you can see the total number there, and then you can see the group in the kind of bar chart at the bottom. What you will notice, if you look at the month of January, we are pacing behind 2023 from a total hotel perspective, but group is up. So I can't sit here and predict what's going to happen because the booking window for leisure is still really, really short. But I will say this, there's still talk of recession, inflation, it's an election year, all of these things. And so leisure travel is still, to me, questionable. But what makes me really excited is that group demand looks pretty good. So if you look, March is really the only month that is tracking the same as 2023. Besides that, 2024 looks very good. And I would say to you, if you're thinking about the month of April, Easter is the last weekend of March. It's a prime month for group. If you're getting requests for groups in that month, look at them. Look at them a little bit harder than you would typically do it. Maybe drop down in rate a little bit, because if you don't see that leisure pick up like we've been seeing since the pandemic, this is great base business to have on the books. So looking at Europe, I kind of didn't know how I was going to segment it out. Obviously, I can do all the different cities and things, but I knew I had a bunch of European colleagues coming, so I figured that there'd be some Europeans in the room that would be interested to look at this overall. So you can see Europe even stronger when compared to last year, so looking much better from a total hotel perspective, as well as every month in group is stronger than in 2023. So Europeans, you're doing something right. Keep it up. So when I think about all of you in this room from a distribution perspective, I thought I'd do a little bit of a channel deep dive. I'm not going to go over every chart on the slides, but you can kind of take a peek, and I'll kind of touch on a few things. So first, I think that we talked earlier, I don't know where Sebastian is, that sometimes this conference brings about controversy. I'm not really looking for controversy. I am going to focus more on brand.com bookings and driving the guest to you through your sites, but our OTA partners are critical to our success in the industry, and you can see kind of the breakdown here, brand.com, OTA. What I will say is overall brand.com globally from 2019 to now has increased by about 4 percentage points. So quite a drastic increase in brand.com contribution since the pandemic. And the only reason I'm using 2019 here is to kind of show a trend pre-pandemic to now. So you can see brand.com in North America, you can see the percentage there. That rate is about $178 compared to $154 in 2019. We know that this recovery was led by rate, so it's no surprise there. But I will point out, from a GDS perspective, that rate is 182. So I will say this. We were not a company in the 1970s. And we do not have contracts from the 1970s, but we are GDS, and I would say for Travelport and Sabre as well, we feel like we're still a very strong channel, and I think that this shows it here. Yes, you see a decline in occupancy, but corporate travel has not come back to what it was in 2019 levels, but that rate is higher than the brand.com rate. So make note of that, because the travelers that are coming through the GDS are paying higher prices, and that is always what we're looking for. So yes, there's commission costs, but the rates are higher, and I think it's a good opportunity to drive business into the hotel. So, investing in media on that channel, et cetera, could be very interesting. So now just look at Europe here, so you can see the rate here on brand.com is even higher, but you can see that that gap between what it was in 19 to what it is now is quite drastic from a rate perspective. And the GDS is not as high in Europe as it is in North America. So for all the European hotels, maybe it's a channel you could look at, maybe additional investment. How do we drive business there, especially as we think about more Americans potentially going into Europe through 2024? There might be opportunities there to drive higher rate of business. So that's it for data. That's all you get out of me for data today. But if you want to scan the QR code, you can go download all of the free data that we offer, top 50 markets, all of that information on our website. You will have that, and I'm sure that from Hedna we can share that after if you don't have a chance to get a screenshot of it. Right now, I'm going to count to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to go. Natalie's watching my time, so I have to be very careful at how fast I go here. So listen, I can come out here and tell you that there's all this opportunity, there's high rates, there's occupancy opportunity, but what do you do with that, right? And to me, it's really about personalization. I think that if the pandemic did anything, it made travelers realize they want what they want, and they expect to get it. And this is really all about personalization. But the reality is it's tough. It's so tough. I was talking to Gianna this morning at breakfast, and we were laughing at, is any other industry this fragmented? Right? If you think about the data, the distribution channels, the different brands, the management companies, the ownership groups, it's so fragmented, right? And so all of this fragmented data makes it really hard to action all of the data that you might get, where it shows your opportunity. What do you do with it, right? Individual traveler preferences, so understanding how do you personalize for your traveler. Not only does everybody want something different, but Katie, as a business traveler, wants something than Katie, the mom of 3 boys. So my individual traveler preferences change depending on what I'm doing. So it's hard to keep up with, right? I always use the story. I worked at Ritz-Carlton, and we had a CRM, and I went in, Katie, my maiden name at the time, I like strawberries and champagne. I put that right in that system, make sure that I always get strawberries and champagne, but I think that things are much bigger than they were then, and that seemed amazing when I got that then, but obviously expectations are continually increasing. And then really the lack of the complete traveler, right? So it's not just about the hotel part. It's about the airline. I saw a lady back there trying to find her bags. Wouldn't it be nice if the hotel knew that, so the hotel knew to wait for it, to accept it on her behalf? Somebody's flights got canceled. How does the hotel find that out, right? Right now, it all falls on the traveler, and that's not fun. So we have to find a way to do it, and really the only thing that is constant is change, and things are continuously changing. So what is happening? Obviously, privacy laws, and we talked about that this morning, are continually getting more strict. Third-party cookie deprecation, which is used by many of us to be able to track and target customers. So that's going to be harder to do when this goes away. And what comes next? Really, AI. And I know we kind of talked about some of the rules around that, but it's happening, and we have to find a way to work within those rules, but it's all going to be different than what we're used to. But ultimately, personalization is the most important thing, and you can see what McKinsey estimates between $300 and $500 billion of increased revenue in our industry through personalization. So Amadeus, as many of you know, working with IHG and working on rolling out Marriott, working on attribute-based selling, where at least in the hotel booking experience, you're able to personalize what you want, right? Do you want a high floor? Do you want to add on spa? All of these things through that booking experience. And I think through all of the testing we've done, we've estimated a 10 to 15% increase in revenue per stay with that option to personalize. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But I think for me, it goes beyond just the hotel booking. And as much as I travel, that's great. I need someone to help me make this whole experience work. And that for me is humanizing this travel experience. So again, I showed you all that data. What are you going to do about it, right? Somebody has to action that data. And so what we're doing at Amadeus is trying to start to say, let's bring all of this data together, right? So we talked about the market intelligence data. So you have on the books data, so you understand opportunities by channel, by segment, where the guest is coming from, all of this information, but you need more. So let's bring in traveler data. So this is more, I would say this is high level, but kind of beyond just hotels, right? So an example, we're getting ready to roll out more for use in the CVB DMO space, but I imagine coming to hotel and hotel companies as well, is knowing how much business class tickets, how many business class tickets were booked between Madrid and New Orleans when coming here. What does that tell a hotel? Well, there's a lot of business class tickets being bought. There's target audience for luxury properties, right? So information like that, that's the beginning of trying to understand who's coming, how you're going to target them. And then first-party data. So I know that this might be a little controversial with the first-party data, but it's got to exist. We have to follow the rules, but we have to be able to know the traveler. How else do you personalize an offer if you don't know anything about someone? It's impossible. So we have to find a way to bring in first-party data, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. And so I talked about this already, right? It's going to have to be digitalized, and we have to focus on the end-to-end journey and not just on the hotel part of it. And we're going to have to leverage technology, right? We talked about the generative AI. There are going to be rules. And Amadeus, obviously, we have a vested interest in following the rules of what needs to be done within AI. And so obviously, we're paying a lot of attention to that, have a lot of lawyers that look at that. But we know that ultimately, we have to be able to use technology to be able to do what we need to do to provide a great customer experience. And ultimately, it boils down to really the right offer at the right price at the right time. Right? And so that's what we all have to work towards, is how do we get there to touch that individual traveler when they're trying to make their journey. So I'm going to kind of make this real. And I would say that we have our toe in the water, right? Like we're not even we're nowhere where we want to be as a company, but we are innovating, we are investing, and this is a big focus area of how we can contribute to this. So let's meet Anna. So Anna is a mother with 2 children. There is a holiday coming up, so she is looking to book a trip to Berlin from Paris for her husband, herself, and her 2 children. So she goes on to this, there we go. She goes on to this travel agency, and she books her flights. But like all of us, you get sidetracked, you move on. Her flights are booked, great. She is ready to go, right? But she doesn't book a hotel. So you imagine, with all of the technology that exists already today, you probably get some emails from that traveler data that's more generic, right? Some of these generic emails that say, stay at my hotel. Think about all the emails that you get from everybody that you subscribe to and how many of them you read and how many of them you delete. If you're me, I'm like, select, delete. And I delete everything, right? Because they're generic. They're not actually talking to me about something that I need. It's a step, but it's too short of a step for me. We need to think bigger. So we're going to introduce the Skyline Hotel in Berlin. And so we kind of talked about that traveler data, right? So this is something that we're talking about when I talked about the CVB's DMOs, right? So you have like your rate shopping information, your publicly available rates, and then you have some information about the travelers that are coming via airline from Paris to Berlin, or just into Berlin in general, right? What are the top origin markets? What airlines? What is the purpose of the trip? Is it business or leisure? So you, again, have a sense of what's going on, so you can kind of write some of those generic marketing emails, but you don't actually take it a step further. And so you can see this was the example of the no reply email to Anna that was generic that she didn't pay attention to. So what we've been working on, and we've done this actually with a couple of brands in Europe, and Miria, my colleague right here in the front, has led this effort, proved very successful. And what we were able to do was get data from the brands that participated around their loyal customers. We were able to bump that information against the GDSs, against the airline bookings, to say what loyal customers booked an airline but didn't book a hotel. And I know somebody's going to say they could have booked a hotel somewhere else. They could have. But if they didn't book it in that ticket, then that was flagged. And then all of a sudden, we know that somebody is flying, like Anna, from Paris to Berlin, has a flight, does not have a hotel booking. That is the key person to target. And if they have a hotel, oh well, you can't do anything about it. But if they don't, then you've just put the right offer at the right time to the right person, right? And that's what happened with this hotel. They sent Anna, discover our best family rooms in Berlin, right? So we knew she was booking with 2 adults, 2 children on her ticket from the GDS, and it was very targeted, and it met Anna's needs for what she was looking for in a hotel. So this is where I think that first-party data, it was not shared in a wrong way, it was used how it was supposed to be used. But this is my point of, we have to find a way to use first-party data, because this is what resonates with the end user, not generic emails that we get 10 a day. So look at this, Natalie, I am almost finished, and I have 5 minutes left. So listen, in closing, I just want to say this. We are investing, we are innovating. I think we can all say that as tech companies in this room. It's just the ever-changing nature of our industry. Definitely, it's you have to continuously keep up. But I think our ultimate goal is to take all of the data that we have. I mean, you can see from travel agencies. Listen, I come from TravelClick. I had no idea what Amadeus was but a GDS when we got purchased. The amount of data we have is unbelievable, right? From airports, car rental, cruises, payments, all of this data. And our ultimate goal, and we're already working on it, is to create what we're calling the creation platform that allows all companies to utilize the data, following all privacy laws and all the laws we have to worry about, but using this data across the industry so we can all work together to provide the customer with a unique experience and really elevate how people travel. So that's it. I have 4 minutes to spare. Thank you.